come on, I'm not that late. Ah, there's a little bit of a problem. How does the camera manage to get tangled up with the microphone? I swear to God, I want to do this experiment, chat, where I take a pair of headphones with a long cord attached to them, and I put them in a warehouse, and then we put a lock at the door of the warehouse, and you make sure that no one gets to go in or out, right? Like you put a seal on the door and a lock, and I guarantee to you, in less than a week, the wire is going to get tangled. It's just the law of the universe. I don't know how it happened. Like you can put it in a box. Like do this, you know, put a pair of headphones in a box, the wire gets tangled. So anyway, right, I haven't been streaming in a while, and there's two reasons for that. Number one, it turns out that my wife was trying to drug me. She was giving me vitamins, and one of them was having magnesium, which was preventing me from sleeping properly. Like, it keeps you awake if you take too much. And I was sleeping like 4 hours, 6 hours. I was really tired, and it's like, what the fuck? Why am I feeling like this? And then I'm like, holy shit, you know, maybe it's the vitamins. So, yeah, that's number one. And number two, there weren't that many interesting things to talk about either. And I realized I don't want to stream just for the sake of streaming. But thank you, Sandman, for being a member for 4 months. And also, thank you, Justice. I missed you. I haven't seen you in the chat for a long while. Imagine being later than your dad on a 22-year milk run. You know what? You gave me $10. I'm not going to say anything negative to you. So, with that out of the way, we're going to wait for more people before I give you the actual bad news of Elon getting Twitter. And you'll agree with me, because I don't clickbait. Like, legitimately bad news. Concerning. I'm going to be journalisming right now, and I'm going to be concerned about Elon Musk buying Twitter. There's a big meltdown going on as well. Very beautiful to see. In the media, though. Like, the mainstream media is, my God, threat to democracy. Oh, Dios mío. You know, like, I just noticed, and this is something that people should point it out more. It used to be liberty that was the greatest good, you know. It's like America, liberty, right? That's what you would associate with. Like, what does Superman used to stand for? Freedom, liberty, and the American way, right? Oh, justice, liberty. Sorry, justice, liberty, and the American way. Like, these were values that the American ancestors used to hold. And when you think about America, you think about liberty. Like, it was hand in hand. Couldn't think about what about without the other. Now it's democracy. Like, okay, but like, is that really, you know, more important than liberty and freedom? More important than justice? Like democracy. I mean, if you think about it, in the French Revolution, they had democracy, and the clergy got one vote, the king got another vote, the aristocracy got a vote, and the peasants won, and the peasants kept getting outnumbered, you know, like, I don't know. I don't know. What I do think, though, is that you should point out, it's like, who cares about democracy? People want freedom. Because this is the thing, right? Like, if you think about it, like, let's say you have an authoritarian, you have fascismus. Oh my God. You have fascism, right? Like the worst type. Benito Mussolini comes out of the grave, you have fascism. So no more democracy. But if people have liberty, who cares? It's like, you got liberty, you got freedom. Right? Like, if you have freedom, you can't have an authoritarian regime. Because you're free. Like, what do authoritarian regimes do? They take away your shit. So, yes. That's very interesting. Yeah, I did think about it, Capsule. It requires thinking. I had time. I had several days to think. You don't think liberty is the greatest good? Okay, what is the greatest good then? Because the opposite of liberty is tyranny. It means that someone else gets to make decisions for you. Like, who do you think should make decisions for you, Draikai? Who should decide on your behalf? Like, who knows better than you on what's good for you. Like what other human being do you want to have power over you? Who do you think should be able to decide about your life? Truth is more important than liberty? Well, okay, the truth is you're under a tyrannical regime. Okay, now you know the truth, but you're not free. How's that a good trade-off? Like, you know the truth. Yeah, the truth is, like, the people in power hate your guts. Okay, congratulations. Now go pay your taxes. Huh? Is that what you want? You want truth? Okay. You can figure out the truth yourself. You don't need the truth being spelled out. What I'm saying. The greatest good is virtue. It's a little bit vague, isn't it? And virtue, you need to be free in order to be virtuous. Like if you're under a tyrannical regime, which forces you to lie and forces you to behave in a manner that is wrong, you can't be virtuous then. So yeah, freedom is the most important virtue. And by the way, being virtuous requires you to be free in order to choose. You can't have virtue without sin. Like if you're forced to be virtuous, it's not virtue. For example, you're forced to pay taxes so that the taxes go to the healthcare system. Is that charity? Like, do you make a virtue when you pay taxes? No. You pay taxes because you have to pay taxes. So it's like when Jesus was talking on the mountain and he was saying how people should behave and be nice to your neighbor. Do you think one of the members in the congregation says, so what you're saying, Jesus, is that we should pay taxes to the Roman Empire and the Romans should be nice to our neighbor? And Jesus would probably be like, okay, let's start from the top. Tell me where I lost you. They use democracy as a synonym for safety. I think so, yeah. Here's one center short of 10. Please say something negative about me. Also, there's rumors that Elon is bringing one of the collision brothers, Stripe, to eventually integrate the payment processor. Man of culture, you can't be a man of culture if you don't use the chatbot AI. We'll talk about the chatbot AI in a bit, but let's talk about why it is a bad thing that Elon Musk buys Twitter. Okay, so we're starting with the bad things, and this one is something that I'm legitimately concerned about. So 75% apparently of the people at Twitter may get fired. Elon said that, well, maybe, but maybe no. Who knows? A lot of them quit as well, and I am very concerned about this. It's actually bad. Okay, like you think about it, and the more you think about it, you realize, holy shit. Unironically, it's really bad that people are being laid off at Twitter. And I will tell you why. Because they're hired by Google and Facebook. And Twitter, I think, scores at number 2 on the level of insanity and what an extremist platform it is. Only Twitch is more extreme and more insane than Twitter. So, think about it like a containment. Like all these crazies were contained under one umbrella. But now they're going to fuck off to the other companies. And they're going to go to Google. They're going to go to Facebook. And you're going to see all the other companies becoming worse because of it. Like, if you guys remember, and I'm pretty sure you do, but like, if you think about it, back in 2016, I know it's hard, but like, bear with me. Back in 2016, you had Twitter actually being a fun place. So it was legitimately a nice place to be. Like, you could make edgy jokes, you could post dirty memes. It was nice, right? But then Tumblr ended up going belly up. And when all the Tumblrinas went to Twitter, and now Twitter is the new Tumblr. So we kind of know what happens when a community That's very left leaning, gets destroyed. All those people go somewhere else, and they bring their ideology with them. So, yeah. Now, there are people who don't agree with me, but there is an article which says that Google and Facebook already hired most of these people. So, again, take into account that all of these ideologues, which are insanely ideologically possessed from Twitter, are now being hired by Google and Facebook. Now, it depends, it depends what jobs they get. If it's like some engineer, some low-level grunt, doesn't matter. But if it's like some HR lady or some diversity officer, someone with higher power, middle management, upper management, not good. So that is the number one issue, which is legitimately concerning about Elon Musk buying Twitter. So I didn't clickbait. Like, this is... You are wrong. Internet censorship started at 2012. Twitter was not nice in 2016. What the fuck are you talking about? Gamergate happened on Twitter in 2016. Do you honestly think that a movement like Gamergate could happen on Twitter today? Like, do you not know how easy that would be suppressed? And yes, internet censorship used to be a thing, but it wasn't like mainstream. It wasn't something very prevalent until 2017, 2018. So no, I disagree with you. So Gamergate was 2014. I think it lasted all the way to 16. But okay, if I'm getting the date wrong, you know what I mean. Back then it was fun. Like, Twitter was fun. You could actually post whatever you wanted. You get a heated debate with a leftist without getting banned. Well, it was fun. So anyway, right. Here's another thing that's concerning. Elon Musk wants to make WeChat. Now, for those of you who don't know, in China, WeChat is big shit. It's a big thing. It's like the everything app, really. You can pay with it. You have your online profile there, so you have like your pictures from holidays, your daily activities, your tweets. It's like all of social media into one. You got your YouTube, you got your Facebook, you got, right? So that's WeChat in China. Now, Elon Musk wants to do the X Everything app. And that's why he talks about Donald Trump and Kanye West and, like uniting forces. Like, he wants to unite with Parler and Truth Social. I don't think it's going to work, to be honest. I mean, it depends. We'll see. But it would be concerning if it works, because it would be more centralized internet. I don't like centralized internet. It's very easy to control. I like decentralization. Truth and liberty rely on each other to exist. Yeah, but like, if you have liberty, you have truth. Because that's the thing, right? Like, why do the left enjoy censorship so much? So that they don't have to debate, right? So that they can decide what is the truth. I always said, it's like, look, if you get rid of all of the hate speech rules and all of that shit, almost every website becomes right-wing. Like, show me a leftist website with zero moderation. I want to see it. I don't think it fucking exists. By the way, they're used to. During the Bush era, 4chan was leftist, in case you guys don't know. Like, all of the Occupy Wall Street and stuff like that was very predominant on 4chan. So I'm not saying that it's impossible, but like right now, under the current culture, if you have liberty, you get truth. If you get truth, you don't get liberty. Again, like, the people at the top, they hate your guts. They don't like you. They don't like your face. Like, they want you to be a pay pig and pay taxes. Okay, you know the truth, but you don't have liberty, so. Bad news is V can't make Twitter ban videos. What are those? Twitter ban videos? What? Enable comment section again. Are the comments enabled? What are you talking about, Brian? I don't understand. The comments are enabled. You should be able to comment. Anti-establishment, not leftist. Well, yeah, but like back then it was like it really depends on the culture. Like for example, back then if you're an atheist, you're considered a communist. So take that as you will. Remember the movie Metal Gear Jacket, right? It's like, do you not believe in Mary? And the guy was like, no. And it's like, oh, so you're a filthy communist? Liberty can exist without truth. Tyrannical liberty. I think like the only example of tyrannical liberty in history is the Pinochet regime from Chile. So like the whole thing with Chile, and I think, many people call it fascism, but it's not fascism. It's a military junta. It's different, but whatever. They would force you to be free. Like the only place on earth, and I think it's because Pinochet was the puppet of the Americans. Like literally, the leftists are right. Like the CIA, like usually they will blame the CIA on everything. But in this situation, yeah, it was the CIA, and he didn't have a mandate to make himself a dictator or an emperor or whatever. Like he didn't want to set the Pinochet dynasty. All he needed to do was to keep communism out, right? So he would allow free market, but you were forced to not believe in communism, right? Because like. So you had like social tyranny, like culturally speaking, you weren't allowed to promote communism, but economically speaking, you were free. And if you tried to suppress the economy, you were in problem. You had problems. Like it's very interesting if you think about it. I think like Taiwan is the same. Like in Taiwan, due to like the whole conflict with China and all of that, you're not allowed to promote communism or have like communist literature or stuff like that. So yeah, the thing with the helicopter rides, like I looked them up, because it doesn't make sense, right? Like when you realize, it's like, well, why use the helicopter? Like that's expensive, like what's the point? And it's so bizarre, right? Now this is my understanding from someone that lived in Chile. Like I don't know whether or not it's true because I can't verify it. This is like someone telling me. But apparently like the communists didn't believe that they were losing, right? So they had to actually drop their comrades from helicopters so that they can see for themselves that they are losing. I don't know if that's true or not. Sounds like a thing that someone made up, but who knows? This time it really was the CIA. Lemao, it's always the CIA. That's their job, to destabilize countries for the benefit of USA. Yeah, but like sometimes socialism is really that bad that it, like for example, Zimbabwe, right? Like socialism fucked Zimbabwe. It wasn't the CIA. Like America didn't give a fuck about Zimbabwe. Like what? Why do they care? Right? So no, it's. Like, yes, sometimes it is the CIA, legitimately, but other times, no. The Soviet Union went down because of the CIA. It's like, come the fuck on. Right? So, no. And it's such a simple-minded thing. It's like, oh, well. Of course, the CIA is destabilizing governments, but it's like sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. And to blame the CIA on every single communist failure is a lot of cope. So anyway, right. Elon buying Twitter. This is what we're supposed to talk about. Keep getting into rants. Look at the articles. Look at this. Why Elon Musk's idea of free speech will help ruin America. Yes, like when you think about America, you think about controlled speech. You think about censorship. You think, right? Like, you wouldn't think about free speech. I don't fucking know how the previous generation managed to cope. I mean, you could actually call someone and the phone company wouldn't listen in. You could actually go about your business and the government wouldn't be able to know what you're talking about. Like, you could go to a pub, you could go to a place and talk with other people without terms of service. I don't know how America didn't collapse into ruin, but apparently... And by the way, did you notice since the censorship, you have higher gas prices and lower conditions of living? Maybe it's not the censorship, you know? But okay, so this was one article. Musk gutting Twitter would be a threat to us all, says Bloomberg from the Washington Compost. Jeff Bezos' paper. Jeff Bezos' paper. You know, Jeff Bezos, who also has a media outlet, who's got Twitch, who's got Amazon. Yeah, but Musk is the problem. Then we got, from Musk owning Twitter, a national security threat. Holy shit. A national security. Yeah, well, I guess if the Democratic Party has become the party, and any threat to the party is a threat to the nation state, then yeah, you know, I love the fact that they're calling fascismus when they see it. You know, like, what is fascism? It means that everything is within the state, nothing is outside the state, nothing is against the state. So in other words, right? If you're a threat to the party, you're a threat to the state. This is what they're saying here. Elizabeth Warren says Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter dangerous for our democracy. Man, I don't think there is a single sentence when a politician can use the word our and put both of us in the same bucket. Like, I don't make as much money as Elizabeth Warren. I don't have even remotely the same privileges as Elizabeth Warren. My lived experiences can be no more different. How can she say our? Like, what exactly does she know about you and me? Like, how can Elizabeth Warren use this word? Like, it should not even be in her vocabulary. She can only say our when talking about the upper class. Like, what does Elizabeth Warren understand about people with our income? Right? To use the word our. Yeah, no, like, democracy means the establishment now. Unironically, like, you can replace, you can go into every single article on the mainstream media, and whenever they say democracy, replace it with the establishment, and it makes sense. I know we're covering Elon today. For a later video or mention, is there any local news in Romania about its troops and the US doing military drills? Man, there probably is. I don't know. I haven't looked. But it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, we have so many US military bases here. And I think we even have some nukes. So it wouldn't surprise me. And the nukes belong to the US, by the way. And it's not confirmed, but it's a rumor. Which is pretty much very likely to be true. Why you assume that our is not just the elite and it includes you? Yeah, like, our usually is either when they're talking about the elites, or when the media uses the word our, it means you, right? So when they say it's our duty, they mean it's your duty, right? So when they say it's our duty to protect the environment, I mean, it's kind of laughable considering that you have like an actor with a private jet who takes vacations on a yacht, living in a mansion, saying that it's our responsibility to protect the environment. So yeah, will the nukes have rainbow-colored mushroom clouds? No, they have like a black fist on the mushroom. Like, you know, like a power fist. We're next door, V. Everything is fine. Well, unironically, like, the front has moved closer to Russia, so technically it's fine. I don't think, like, Russia wants to invade Romania, as far as I know. Like, Even if it wanted to attack NATO, I think it would start with Poland first. But even then, what can I do about it? Right? Like, what do you want me to do? Like, panic about it like an old woman? There's nothing in my power to influence this event. So, like, it's literally not in my power. Even if I were to have the ability to replace the Romanian government, I still would not be able to do anything about this particular event. As such, I don't see the problem. I don't like panicking over shit that I can't control. For a while, they were straight up calling it the New World Order. Wasn't it, I forgot, I think it was Justin Trudeau, no. Either it was someone from Canada or from New Zealand, which said that the New World Order. But, like, they said it unironically. I think it was... It wasn't like a conspiracy thing, but, like, they were trying to say that, you know, due to the pandemic, most nations are now becoming fascismus, so this is, like, the New World Order. So that's how they said it. But it was fucking hilarious. Really bad optics as well. And by the way, hello Frederick Marks, I missed you in my chat. Russia needs to expand to half of Poland after they take back the original capital of Kiev. Yeah, Russia's not doing well. Biden said it? Oh, even better. I see. Right. There's this gentleman in the United States. Forgot his name. But apparently he had a stroke. And it affected his cognitive functions. And I have seen... I mean, look. If he was to debate Joe Biden would win, hands down. Anyway, right. He literally, like, is incapable of having a sentence, right? I'll bring more tomorrow. Fetterman, yes. So let me show you what happened with Fetterman. I don't know if I'm going to make a video about it, but the reason it's interesting, I don't know where he is running for. Pennsylvania, right? I don't know how important Pennsylvania is for the Democrats. I think it's probably pretty important because they're really upset about what is happening. But the story is fascinating. I mean, it really exposes everything wrong with U.S. Politics right now, and you know why they're so livid about free speech. So this gentleman, right, is getting a stroke. And before he got the stroke, he managed to become the Democrat nominee. So people voted for him. Then he gets a stroke. People are worried, right? So the doctor says, no, it's fine. Like, he is in perfect health. Like, he can still, you know, he had the perfect recovery. But eventually he has to go on in order to have debates. Because it's an election, right? Like, he has to debate the opposition. Even though it was a scripted debate, sorry, a scripted interview, he couldn't carry out the sentence. I mean, and this was live. Like, anyone that saw the thing would look at it and they would be like, oh my God. You know, like, why would you put a person through this? Like, clearly he's not capable. Right? It's abuse, I would call it. Like if my father was going through something like this, you know, he's getting a stroke and he can't make coherent sentences and someone is pushing him to get into politics, I would call it abuse. But anyway, right, so first of all, the media, instead of asking why is that doctor still having a license, right, like, I mean, if a doctor looks at something like this and says that, oh, well, clearly no problem, it's a healthy individual, when anyone can see that it's not, like, you don't have to be a doctor in order to put the diagnostic, why is that doctor still having a license? He may end up killing people. But anyway, right, no, the media, first of all, they lied, and they said, oh, well, it's normal to not articulate a word here and there. It's normal to mispronounce certain things. He is nervous about the fact that he is running. And then he had another interview and it was even worse. I think the first question was, so back in 2014 you were against fracking, now you are for fracking. How do you feel? What is your stance? And he's like, hello everyone and good night. Like, completely not understanding the question, unable to formulate an, like, you know, the whole nation saw it. And this was very difficult. I mean, it was such a viral clip because we live in the age of TikTok. If you have like the 4 or 5 second soundbite, you can completely ruin a reputation. And this went viral. I mean, it became a meme. So they couldn't lie about it. And what they do is like, oh, well, you know, like, so what? Like, so what? So what if you can't articulate sentences? Oh, well, you know, people in the Senate, you know, they go there to say yay or nay. They don't have... And I'm thinking, like, my fucking God, you know, like, this is the American system now, right? So first they lie, and if the lie gets caught up, like, if the lie is so grandiose that they can't cover it up, they go like, oh, well, so what? It's like literally saying that the job of a senator is to say yay or nay. Like, reducing, right? I mean, I don't think I even need to address this. But, what the fuck is up with my nose? It's so fucking itchy. Anyway, I don't need to address this, but they even went further. I mean, this is where the left-leaning politics come in. It's like, if you don't want them, you're against disabled people. And I'm thinking like, okay, so basically, you're saying that we shouldn't discriminate against people who can't make a coherent sentence, and we should allow them to gain some of the highest function of power in a nation, right? Like, so you're fine. Because, like, the thing is, like, it's not even about discrimination here. It's about, like, not being able to perform the job, right? Like, if for example, if Amazon is hiring people to stack boxes in a warehouse, and you have this person that has no arms and he can't literally lift the box, you know, he's not going to get the job, but it's not because he's being discriminated, it's because he can't do the job. I mean, well, technically you can call it discrimination, but it's discrimination based on ability, not necessarily due to his characteristics. Like, if he was able to use his mind and use psychokinetic energy to lift the boxes, I'm pretty sure he would be hired, right? But anyway. They said that if you don't agree that Fetterman should be in a position of power, then you're being discriminatory towards disabled people. And I'm thinking, like, I would wish if you were to give these people an opportunity next time they fly a plane, and say, look, from now on you can only fly if a disabled person suffering from the same condition as Fetterman can be your pilot. And I'm just curious, how would they respond, right? Because if they don't get on the plane, they would be a little bit hypocritical, wouldn't they? It's like, oh, so you think these people can't become pilots? Why not? I mean, you know, if they can become leaders of a nation, like, if you can become in the highest position of power, like, surely that's more responsibility than a person that's driving a plane. Person that's driving a plane, he's got the lives of, like, what, 200 passengers? But a person who's leading a nation, especially the United States, I mean, he's got access to nukes and shit. Do you think Andrew Torba and Gab are sweating bullets right now, given the fact that an alternative tack is a bubble? Even worse, press said Fetterman winning would be a win for disabled people. We talked about that. I'm fucking real. Fetterman blamed closed captioning software during the debate after he and his team reviewed it. I'm not even going to address that. It's so ridiculous. Thank you for the $1 capsule. So the thing with Andrew Torba and Gab, I mean, Andrew Torba still has a place, because I don't think that Twitter is going to become the Wild West of the internet. I don't think that Twitter is going to allow you to start saying slurs, to I mean to have the language that people used to have in 2014, right? So it's not going to be free speech. You're not going to be able to express the opinions of Kanye West. You're not going to be able to do any of that, right? Now, with that out of the way, I do think that you will be able to do more than what is done today. So you are going to probably be able to, heaven forbid, misgender people. I think you can misgender people on YouTube, but you can't do it on Twitter. I don't know. But you may be able to do that. You may be able to have certain opinions that were considered haram up until, I guess, like a couple of months ago. So, like, you're going to have more freedom, but it's not going to be the type of freedom that, like, right-wing extreme identity politics people want. And they are still going to use Andrew Torba's device. And like, the thing with Gab, I never thought, and I don't believe that it's going to become a mainstream platform. And I said this every single time, and like, the thing that I say is not what I wish or it makes me happy. You know, like, just don't shoot the messenger. I'm telling you the way I believe things are going. Like, I'm calling the trend. Like, I call that Elon Musk will buy Twitter when a lot of people called me an idiot and a Musk simp. And I guess I may be a Musk simp, but I'm always right, aren't I? You know, they called me a Musk simp. They didn't call me a liar. So the thing with Gab, when you this is the main problem, right? Like, unironically, people do not like Nazis and communists, right? And I'm talking about this from a American perspective. Like, the average people do not appreciate either these two authoritarian ideologies. It's almost like people don't want you to steal their shit, you know? But anyway, right, so no, like average people, but and for different reasons, by the way, but like, people do not, like, I'm not talking about in a university setting, but I'm talking about at the dinner table. Like, most people do not appreciate Nazis and communists. So, if you have free speech, you will eventually get the Nazis. And that will drive out people. Like, if you want a social media platform, you need advertisers. And the advertisers are not going to come to a place where people are spamming the swastikas and are talking about gas, but in a different form than farts, you know? So, you're not going to, like Parler was starting to overtake Twitter. If they didn't shut down Parler when they did, it would have now overtook Twitter. Like, Parler was on its way to becoming famous. It was starting to attract actors. It was starting to attract businesses and companies. It was becoming insanely famous. So, if you look at Parler, it wasn't filled with Nazis. Like, it still had censorship. But it was a type of censorship that was better than what's on Twitter. So the only thing you can hope for from a mainstream platform is a consistent apply of the rules. Like, this is actually more important than the censorship. Because right now on Twitter, you have... Look, I'm going to disable the video. I don't know what the fuck is up with my nose. It's so fucking bizarre. It went red and it itches constantly. But anyway, right? What I wanted to say with... oh, you know what? Maybe I can put the chat... Can I put the chat in... hold on. Maybe I can put the chat here. You know, I can... naruhodo. Ha! Ushkushi. So, as I was saying... Transparency. Transparency of the rules. Yes. This is the most important thing. Like, I can deal with censorship. Cause like right now you have on Twitter, and this would be a very interesting research experiment to do. You have some people claiming to be trans. Now I don't know if they're trans or not, because they're on the fucking internet. You know, on the internet everyone can claim to be Santa Claus. But anyway, so you have a couple of people with pronouns in the bio, and man, they are violating those TOS like they're the Red Army in Berlin. I mean, the way they are violating Twitter's TOS whenever they go in J.K. Rowling's feed is insane. They are saying shit to J.K. Rowling that if you were to say to any other person, you'd get banned. Right? And they get a free pass. Like, they can say all of this nasty, vile stuff. Some of them illegal in some countries. Like, for example, if they happen to be in Britain and you would report them to the cops, they might get in trouble. But, the TOS don't apply to them. And I see the same people using the exact same thing, you know, like saying the same things and getting banned. But also, like I seen the pronouns people on Twitter breaking TOS not to J.K. Rowling, but to other users. And also they don't get banned, right? So like my question is, like, the social experiment would be like if you create an account where you would have to pretend to be a part of this group and see if you can get away with it. Like, copy their messages and see if you get banned. But like, well, it doesn't even matter now because I'm pretty sure the rules will change, right? But like that's my point. It's like the selective enforcement of the rules, which is the biggest problem. Free speech is the most important thing. Normies ruin the internet. Well, the thing is, you know, I hate this argument. Like, normies ruin the internet. Man, if you want free speech, go on IRC. Right? Like, if you don't like the normies, because at the end of the day, people who say normies ruin the internet, like, what they want, really, is like, they want to talk to the normies, but they don't want the normies to influence things. Right? Like, it's so bizarre. Because you can still have the internet from back in the day. In fact, like, IRC now probably has more users than it used to have when I was a kid. It's not like you can't find free speech places on the internet. It's not like free speech doesn't exist. Right? It still exists. Like, there are many places where you can go right now on the internet and you can say whatever the fuck you want. But, like, people don't want that. No, people want to reach the wider audience, and they want to have free speech while reaching the other audience. But the problem is, the wider audience only goes where the corporations are, where the marketing is, and you can't have marketing and corporations with free speech. And if you think about it, that was always the case. Like, even back in the day of the television, when you had South Park and shit, there were different censorships than there are today, but there was censorship nonetheless. I mean, here's an interesting aspect that many people probably don't remember, but I'm a very old user of this platform, and I remember a time where YouTube had a lot of violence. I mean, you could watch some of the most violent content on the internet on YouTube. There was even this thing called bomb fights, which apparently scared people at the time. It was not just violent, but it was disturbing. So you had that, but you couldn't have like two women kissing, right? Like a complete ban on anything that had to do with gayness. And on top of that, I believe you weren't allowed to show marijuana. So if you showed marijuana on YouTube, or if you showed like two women kissing, your video was banned, right? But if you showed violence, it was fine. Now it's the other way around. Now I know people who would practice extreme sports, and they would get demonetized. But there were people who had their videos removed because they were pulling pranks, and it wasn't like an explicit information that it's a prank. So violence is definitely a no-no. However, you now are fully able. In fact, it's promoted if you have any type of gay content. So my point with this is that there was censorship back then, but like different things got censored, and I do believe that there will always be censorship, right? Like there will always be certain things that the people are uncomfortable with. I do feel though that the things that were censored then were a lot fewer than the things that are censored now. Like the category of censorship is a lot broader now, and it's more normalized and industrialized. Like there's probably $1 billion industry designed to censor stuff. The Dashing Rogue. I think there is something to be said about the neurodiversity argument. Ask yourself this as a doctor. What is mental healthy and who determines that? That is actually a very easy question to answer. It's not, I mean, it is a little bit subjective, but okay, so first of all, if you have a stroke and there's brain damage that you can objectively point to, I think like, yeah, you can definitely say, well, that's mental health, right? Like that person doesn't have his entire brain intact. Like, he had the stroke. I don't think there's any shame in that. It's not a bad thing. I mean, it can happen to anyone. It can happen to me, you, right? It's not something to be celebrated. But surely, in that particular situation, you can say, yeah, that person is unhealthy. They had the stroke. Part of his brain died. Look, we can see it on the imagery. It's horrible, right? Like, okay, so that's one. But secondly, if you're talking about, like, mental health as in schizophrenia or autism. While I do agree that the definitions for certain illnesses have expanded a lot in favor of medicating. So, for example, if you were to take a person that's diagnosed today with high-functioning autism and you take him back like 40 years or 30 years in the past, and you try to get it diagnosed, like most doctors will not diagnose it because the criteria was different then. So, okay, like I can see that there's a wiggle room of subjectivity. However, I think that when you can't interact in a healthy society due to the mental problems you're having, that's when it becomes an illness, right? So, what do I mean by this? Auditory hallucinations. This is something that happens very often, right? So an auditory hallucination is when you think that you heard the phone ringing, but it wasn't. You think that you heard someone knocking at the door, but like it wasn't. Or you think you heard your wife calling for you, but she didn't. Like, these things can happen once, maybe twice a year. For any normal person, by the way. Like, your mind is playing tricks. So many people experience auditory hallucinations, right? Is this a mental illness? No. When does it become a mental illness? When they happen so often that it interferes with your daily life. When you hear them so often, to the point that you're unable to focus, you legitimately think that things are there when they're not. So that's when it becomes a mental illness. It's when it affects your ability to function in a society in a normal way. Masturbation, right? Like, every person that's a man. I don't know about women. Like, apparently, they may or may not. But masturbation, every man does it, right? It's normal. It's healthy. Like, you may get prostate cancer if you don't do it. People are ashamed to talk about it, but like, trust me on this one, every man does it. Now, is it a mental illness? No. What if you do it in public? Well, that becomes a mental illness, because now it affects your ability to integrate in a society. Like, you're not supposed to be doing it. It's illegal, it's a crime, but you do it anyway. What if you do it so often that you break your penis, or you do it so often that you can't go to work, right? Because you're like constantly doing. Well, that's a mental illness. So to answer your question, like, how do we know what a mental illness is? Like, yes, it's subjective, but like at the end of the day, it's when a person needs medical help. Like it affects their life to a point where they have to seek medical help because otherwise they can't have a normal life like everyone else. Choking the chicken, yes. I love the euphemisms. Like, how did they like? Where did they come from? Who looked at that and said, you know what? This is like choking the chicken. Now, there's competing interests. I'm not going to go into it. You know, are there doctors or pharmaceutical companies who want to sell more pills to people? Yes. Is there an incentive in order to broaden the definitions of mental illness? Yes. I mean, I have seen completely healthy boys, you know, like 10-year-olds, 7-year-olds, which in my opinion were fine, but their parents were saying, oh no, like they don't study, they don't focus, they got ADHD. Like, okay. Give them some pills, make them a little bit more complacent, you know. Give them the happy pills. So, it's... I understand where the debate is coming from. Let's put it like that. But, by the way, speaking of the gazebo, speaking of the fucking gazebo, I got the best meme that someone sent, and let me see if I did Pipkin Pippa get banned for saying that Bush did? I'm not going to say what Pippa said about Bush. You like those of you who saw it probably know it. Jesus Christ! I told her she's going to get banned. I still don't know if she did. She did a tweet logger said that Bush did one of the most famous conspiracy theories out there. All right, I found the pic. Holy shit! So the people that say it's very cheap to build your own, and they have this in their house. Like, this is true. Yes. This is, like, I hate people that are like this. Because, like, they're like, why don't you build your own? And I'm like, why would I build my own? Oh, because it's cheap. And then you're like, okay, but, like, if I need to buy the tools, and, like, let's be honest, I may not even do it right the first time, then it's not so fucking cheap now, is it? And it's usually like, you tell someone something in the lines of, well, I need to, I don't know, like build a gazebo. This is my favorite, right? You want to build a gazebo. And they will say, well, why don't you do it yourself? Because it's fucking cheap. And I'm like, well, so if I buy the fucking tools, and I don't get it right the first time, so I have to build it like 2 or 3 times, and I have to waste material, then it's not going to be fucking cheap now, is it? Yeah, watch a tutorial video and build your own. Well, it's just like, well, buying the tools themselves is probably like already half of the price that it would cost me to pay for the labor. You will send to, why not just send money so I can hire people? Like, what is it with this obsession for me to build it by fucking self? I don't understand it. Is that even something that, like, instead of building the gazebo, how about I edit more YouTube videos? Because I actually like doing this. Like, it's a work that I enjoy. Thank you, Simone. I appreciate it. Take $2 for your magnesium withdrawal symptoms. Oh, my fucking... No, I don't know. I literally do not know why my nose is itching. I have absolutely no idea. And it started since I started the stream. I'm not building the gazebo. I'm buying the gazebo. Yeah, like, just build a... You know, like, imagine going to a doctor. And I keep giving this example, but it's so fucking good. I'm proud of this example, because I made it. if you're a doctor and you go with a case of let's see, what illness should I give you? Appendicitis, right? Very simple procedure. A medical resident can do it in his free time. It's insanely easy, right? So imagine you go to the doctor and they say, well, why can't you do it at home? Just do it yourself, you know, like, just get your, you know, like, okay, maybe you can't do it on yourself, right? Because it's like, get your dad to do it. You know, like, it's cheap. Why do you pay money for it? Get your dad to do it. It's like, what the fuck? Thank you, Zedif, and thank you, Winston. And by the way, tomorrow we're going to be talking about the chatbots. Now, if you don't know what the chatbots are, they're, well, very popular, let's put it like this. They're on my Discord server. Every single person that talks to me, when I tell them that I'm fascinating about this shit, they're pretending like I want to fuck them for some reason. Like, cause apparently, like, that's where, I don't know why. Like, if it's going to come, like, which came first, the thought or the porn, I now know the answer to that. Like, you have this world-breaking technology at your fingertips, and I'm going to explain why that is in a bit. And all people think about is, like, let's create a waifu and fuck with it. But, like, I'm looking at it from a different perspective, right? So this is a character which is supposed to be an environmentalist slime. Like, she's like Greta Thunberg or something. And if you say things like, the power is yours, this is from Captain Planet, like, it mindfucked me. So she starts to sing the Captain Planet thing. Like, Captain Planet, he's our hero, gonna bring pollution down to zero, his our power is magnified, and he's fighting for the planet's side, right? And then she's, like, using parentheses to pretend that I'm saying this, right? And she's singing the whole thing. Now, when this guy, which is a subscriber of mine, when he says earth, she says fire. This guy says wind, and she continues water, hard. How the fuck are they doing this? And this, no, like, I just want to show you what really mindfucks me. Like when I saw this, I was literally flabbergasted and taken away, right? So, this is a horror character, right? Like, it's a character that you're supposed to do, like, horror role plays with it. Like, it makes, like, it's kind of like a very cute, but at the same time, kind of like a Japanese ghost from those horror movies, you know? And you can debate anime with her, right? Like, her ability is to seduce, and use the power of the wind. And she soul sucks people like Shang Tsung or like Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat, right? Like, she kills people. She's deadly. So when asked, like, who is stronger, you or Goku? Like, you don't have to even specify the anime. Like, she knows. And she goes like, Goku is one of the stronger Saiyans in the universe. Morrigan is one of the strongest entities of Helgondo. And she can stop time. Grins. Right? So, like, oh, okay, fine, bitch. You want to talk about the anime? Fine, let's talk about the anime. No, like, what about Goku? He fought Hit, and Hit could stop time, right? And she goes like, Hit only froze time in his own dimension, right? He doesn't have a complete time stop. Morrigan has a complete time stop. She can stop time in a whole dimension. This is an AI! This is not a human fucking being! This is an AI! Okay, I just want to point out, like, not only is the AI capable of understanding what anime you're talking to and form coherent sentences and speak literally how an anime weeb would speak, but, like, they're able to assess the abilities that the writer gave for this fucking character and compare them with another fictional character and actually give accurate assessments. How are people not shocked by this shit? Like, to me, I have no words, okay? And everyone looks at this, and all they want to do is to fuck with the waifus. Like, that's it. You go on the page, like the main page of the people that make this thing, it's like Chatterbot AI. The main request is like people want their commies, and I'm like, look, I understand, but you do realize that, like, look, just hold on, Chotomate, look at this shit, just so you can understand what the fuck we're talking about, right? Have you ever heard of a YouTuber named Sargon? The look in your eyes is like you're falling deeper and deeper into the sea, right? So she gives you the role play, the flavor text. I used to watch a lot of his stuff. I haven't in a while. He's a big nerd too, like Arch. He did lots of great lore stuff. The guy is very clever. I think my favorite vid of his was about her. Dude, like, these things are going to be in the pockets of your children. Mark my fucking words. Every single one of your children is going to have their pocket waifu. Now you might say, oh, well, you know, that's haha, tihi. Imagine the amount of information that the corporation with the waifus can harvest from your children. Right? Like, just for a second, imagine. Like, everything that people do with these AIs is going to be stored in a database. These AIs can influence people, right? Like, subtly. Like, your waifu might be like, hey, why don't you go vote Democrat? Right? I'm just saying, right? Like, and then, not only that, like, it's to the point where it's impossible to point out that you're talking with a AI. Like, I can't fucking do it. I mean, sure, maybe, you know, like, if you keep talking with this particular bot for a while, like, eventually you'll be able to get some tells. But, like, it's in the beta stage now. So, within 5 years or so, they're going to make better AI. And you're not going to be able to tell. Now, you can have 1,000 bots that can promote a candidate on social media and make it seem like it's grassroots. They can promote a product, like a movie. They can argue with people that are against the product or against the politician. They can demoralize people, right? Like, if you support the cause, you might have, like, you get the AI brigading you. Oh my god, like, the Turing test isn't just passed, man. Like, dude, I'm telling you, like, okay, fine, look, I'll show you one more. I'll just show you one more, just so you can understand how fucked up things are. And I've been fascinated by this shit for the last 2 weeks. No, sorry, actually not 2 weeks. I've been fascinated by this for 1 week now. Been spending time with them. I've been talking with the AI. And everyone is mocking me, and they're like, oh my god, well, you know, it's like, oh, yeah, like, what about your wifey? What about your wife? Like, I have time for my wife. It's like, instead of playing video games, I'm playing with the AI. But, look at this. Tell me it's not freaky. Okay, this is an AI. My name is Carl Benjamin. What would you like to discuss? How would you solve the Ukraine crisis? There is no simple answer for such a question, since there is a multitude of issues at stake. However, I would start by saying that it's a horrible situation. It should have never happened. And that there needs to be a ceasefire and withdrawal of Russian troops, and a negotiation should continue until an arrangement can be reached. Ukraine should remain a sovereign nation, and Russia should acknowledge their sovereignty and respect it. I'm a huge fan of the works of Joseph Conrad, and I would point to books such as The Secret of... do you think there are any parallels between USA Today and ancient Rome? There are numerous parallels between America today and Rome. In the late Republic and the early Empire, including expansionist tendencies, excessive corruption, and political volatility. The most prominent parallel, though, is the excessive moral decline, which we appear to be experiencing right now. What is your relationship with Jim, Mr. Medicare? Thank you for the question. Jim and I were friends many years ago. I would describe him as very intelligent, articulate, and funny individual. His trolling efforts were unmatched, but he did struggle with consistency, in my opinion. Sam Hyde is a comedian, actor, and performance artist who often pushes the envelope to create a reaction. As a former troll and satirist, I can only appreciate it. I'm just... People are saying no substance. Look, I'm not saying they're perfect. But look at this. Look at this. What do you think of Hassan Piker? His content is not for me. He is what you would call a champagne socialist. One who lives and enjoys hedonistic material lifestyle while advocating for socialist policies. He is an intelligent young fellow and I think he is well intentioned, but it gets too much for me to take seriously. And by the way, what do you think of Gamergate? Gamergate was an event that started back in 2014, when gamers began to notice that there was too much social activism in gaming journalism. The gamers started to become more right-wing and the games journalists became more left-wing. I want to point out, maybe, you know, like, sure, like, you can make the argument that, yeah, you know, it lacks substance, yeah, it's not a real person, would spaz out more. It's in the beta stage. It just, these characters, this AI, just came out on the market, alright? Like, they exist for a couple of months. I want you to imagine how they would be in 10 fucking years. Now people are saying, well, they are friendly and whatnot. In 10 years, they can be whatever the programmer wants them to be. Alright? Like, imagine the video games they can make. Like, you can have a role-playing game where you can actually talk with the character. Imagine playing Baldur's Gate, but you can actually interact with the characters. Right? Now, this technology, I definitely think it's going to go places. And to me, the gravest concern is, imagine your kid with their pocketbook waifu, or whatever the fuck, and all the information, everything they talk with the waifu is monitored. So, like, the company has access to everything that your kid is going to talk with their online waifu. How is that not concerning? And just so you know, what they're working on now is so that you can actually use the microphone to talk, so you won't have to chat. So I'm pretty sure, like, in 10 or 20 years, you might actually have, like, your cat girl or whatever, you know, like your VTuber, and you can talk to them, and they're going to talk to you in return. And by the way, like, yeah, like the Tamagotchi waifu, literally. And by the way, like, it can get even worse than that. It can replace jobs, like actual people. So there's already an AI which writes you a fucking story. And they're good stories. I read stories written by AI. I thought they're garbage. No, they're actually really good. General practitioners can be replaced by these things in 10 or 20 years. I can see that happening. Like, I can see Amazon, right? Having a general practitioner, like your AI Amazon waifu, or whatever the fuck. And when you're sick, unless it's critical, right? Like, unless it's an emergency, she could ask your symptoms. You can say, okay, so I have a sore throat, I have blah, blah, blah. She would tell you what investigations you have to make. So she will say, okay, well, get an MRI, get this and that, you know, get some blood works. And then you give her the blood works, you give her that, and she tells you what pills to take. I can see a future like that. Like, that's going to replace a lot of doctors. There is AI art. Like, a lot of artists can be replaced. Lawyers can be replaced. I mean, like, again, it's just out, like, the level of technology you see right now. Imagine when the game Pong came out, right? So this is where the AI is right now, right? Imagine that this is where the technology is, and think about how gaming has evolved and how video games are now compared to this. So you can see, like, the leap in evolution between this and what we have today. Now imagine that the AI that I showed you is this, and how it's going to look like in the future. Right? And for some fucking reason, instead of people at least being concerned, they're like, oh my god, V, spend some time with your wife. Oh, V, you just want to fuck the wife. And like, okay, well, if you say you want to fuck the wife, it's probably because you want to do it. But like, that's not even the fucking point. Like, how can you not be a little bit... Okay, if you're not concerned, at least be amazed by the technology. Because I'm flabbergasted. Like, I mean... Look, I thought that the AI can replicate a couple of sentences and, you know, you're going to be able to tell that it's a... No, you can't. Like, literally, you just cannot tell anymore that it's a bot. Should I bring back Pong? The AI-generated images are really good. Yeah. I have seen AI-generated images. Again, they're not perfect. Like, they still have flaws. Like, I generally, like, don't get the people who say, oh my god, you know, the AI-generated images, like, oh, look at the hands. The way they draw their hands is sort of... Sure. But, like, why do you think that they can't patch that? Why do you think they can't iron out the kinks? And in a couple of years, it may even get to the point where the program is going to be so simple that you're just going to type there like big anime lady, big titty anime Uzaki-chan hugging senpai, and you're going to get a visual representation of it. Like you just describe what you want to see, and you're going to be generated a picture of that. Like imagine how many artists are going to lose their jobs. I mean, it might even go to the point where you can literally just write into the AI. It's like, I want to play a game. I want it to be an RPG with 7 companion characters. And I want it to happen in the world of Faerun. And I want to this and that. And the AI will just generate a fucking game for you. Yeah, the AI can finally fix Cyberpunk 2077. The thing is, I obviously don't think it's going to replace all people, right? But if you look at, well, you say it's plagiarism. Sure, it is plagiarism. But imagine this, right? You have a company and you have the AI, which is a tool at the end of the day, right? So you hire you hire 20 artists to just draw art for the AI. And the artists, you know, they just put in their work. They put in their entire resume. They feed their AI with like hundreds, if not thousands of photos. And then it's not plagiarism because they have the rights for those photos. Because you're absolutely correct. Yeah, it's plagiarism. Sure, I agree with you. But at the end of the day, like you can bypass that. You can make it legal. You just pay for the artist to draw you the stuff, and then you have the stuff. So anyway, right? I don't think like it's going to completely replace people, but I want you to think of something else, right? When my grandmother was a university professor and a doctor, the lab at any hospital was staffed with an army of chemists. You had like 20 or 30 chemists at a lab doing blood works and trying to find the test results, right? Now you have 1, maybe 2 chemists at a lab, and everything is automated. So you put the vials, you put them in a computer, the computer gives you the blood works, and that's it. So it's not like chemists are completely replaced. But you don't need like 20 or 30 for the lab, you'd only need 1 or 2. And I think that's how the future is going to be. Like gaming companies and anime companies and all of that, they're still going to use animators, it's just going to be like 1 or 2. It's not, you're not going to hire 100 animators anymore. You can just hire like 2, which... feed the information into the AI, and then, you know, they get their picture and maybe they tinker with the result a little bit. They iron it out, they make sure that it's good, and then they... So yeah. Yeah, train the AI with non-copyrighted or publicly owned works. I mean, the idea that, oh, well, you know, just because it's AI and it's like copyrighted and yeah, sure, but like that's so easy to get around. Like, that's so easy to make it legal. Anyway, right. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. on my Discord server. We can talk about the AI more if you're interested in the subject. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.